I'm Karl Frisch, in for Thom Hartmann on the news. You need to know this. Is the Republican majority in the House of Representatives in danger? Speaker of the House John Boehner seems to think so. In an interview with Fox News airing today, Speaker Boehner said Republicans are facing a, quote, real challenge in the upcoming election, and that there's a 1 in 3 chance that Republicans could lose control of the House. Majority Leader Eric Cantor, who's been a thorn in Boehner's side for the last year, was more optimistic on the issue, saying he's, quote, very confident that Republicans will add to their majority in the House in November. Looking at what's happening on the state level, Republicans should be worried. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is facing a recall. In Ohio, Republicans watched their radical anti-union law repealed by voters. And in Michigan, a recall effort has begun against Republican Governor Rick Snyder. So if the voters' remorse at the state level is any indication of what might happen at the federal level, Speaker Boehner has good reason to be worried. Immigration is front and center this week as the Supreme Court weighs in on the constitutionality of Arizona's anti-immigration Papers, Please law. But a new study by the Pew Hispanic Center finds that the influx of undocumented immigrants from across the southern border was dramatically slowed. According to the study, between 2005 and 2010, 1.4 million Mexicans immigrated to the United States, which is equal to the number of Mexican immigrants who left the United States either on their own or through deportation. Those numbers don't bode well for Republicans who want to make immigration a wedge issue and declare that there's an illegal immigration crisis in America to justify radical laws like the one passed in Arizona. In the best of the rest of the news, the continental rejection of austerity continues in Europe. In the Netherlands, the Dutch government coalition collapsed on Monday after lawmakers failed to agree upon a series of austerity measures. And in Ireland, the nation's largest trade unions are pressuring the government to vote against more austerity measures being pushed by Germany. These latest protests, coupled with the early electoral defeat of French President Nicolas Sarkozy, demonstrations against austerity in the Czech Republic, and growing unrest in places like Greece, Italy, and Spain, where austerity is in full effect, show that Europe is fed up with forced budget cuts. Stay tuned. The backlash against austerity could be severe. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker's bid to defend himself against recall election just got a lot tougher. According to new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Wisconsin saw the largest decrease in jobs over the last year of all the states in the nation. Wisconsin jobs dropped by nearly a full percentage point. That's not exactly the news the governor wants to hear after he promised to create 250,000 jobs during his first term in office. In the month of March, other states that have pushed austerity like Ohio, New Jersey, and others also saw job losses. Voters in California will have a chance to put the death penalty to death this November. Opponents of the death penalty collected the 800,000 signatures necessary to put a ballot measure up for vote in November to abolish the state's death penalty. Currently, California has the largest death row population in America, and it costs roughly $300 million to put each inmate to death. If opponents of the death penalty succeed in November, California will become the 17th state in the nation to abolish capital punishment. In New York, 33 people were arrested outside a military drone base at Hancock Airfield. More than 150 activists turn out to protest the ongoing use of unmanned drones running missions in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and several other nations that we know and don't know about. The activists said that our nation's use of drones is a, quote, illegal use of force against another nation. Afghanistan and Pakistan agree and have called on the United States to discontinue drone missions in their nations. Republicans love super PACs. A new USA Today study finds that 8 of the top 10 super PAC donors this election cycle are Republicans, or at least corporations that donate nearly exclusively to the Republican Party. In fact, the top 3 donors are all Republicans, with casino mogul Sheldon Adelson at the top of the list with $25 million in contributions to super PACs, mostly to those supporting Newt Gingrich. Speaking of Newt Gingrich, it could be the end of his road on the campaign trail. Just ahead of tonight's Delaware primary, Gingrich told NBC News that he will need to reassess his campaign following the election results. Gingrich is headed for another huge defeat in Delaware, which will be more bad news for a campaign that is already downsized by 1/3 and is in huge debt. But looking back, Gingrich must be happy by his performance. He jumped into the race just to sell books and raise money for his retirement with no real intention of ever becoming president. And he ended up coming close to winning the whole thing. Job well done, Newt. And finally, Hugh Hefner thinks he's figured out what's driving the Republican war on women. In an op-ed published for Playboy magazine, Hefner blamed conservatives who were sexually repressed for lashing out against women in waging a, quote, war against sex. Hefner writes, quote, a new generation of repressed conservatives are pounding on America's bedroom door. Their knock, the beating drum of a war drum that sounds like the intentions to again regulate our sex lives. I think Hefner has a point, but then again, looking at prominent Republicans like Gingrich and Herman Cain, I don't see much evidence of sexual repression. And that's the way it is today, Tuesday, April 24th, 2012. I'm Karl Frisch, in for Thom Hartmann on the news.